we're going to continue with bucket 3, how teachers will be able to see student work and respond to it in real time. So looking back at our Nearpod again, the next tool is a Google Sheet. This Google Sheet is also embedded in the Nearpod. It doesn't need to be, it could be a link in Schoology that students go back to. But this Google Sheet can be used in two ways. One, we could have each individual student or group of students have cells where they record their responses and we can see their recorded responses in real time. But we can also use it as a way to insert pictures of their work. So if students are primarily working on paper or on a whiteboard, they can work through a problem or work through a task or a writing activity and then hold it up to their webcam and insert a picture very easily into the Google Sheet. And then as a teacher, you're able to see it. If you embed it in Nearpod like this, you can also treat it like a kind of gallery walk of student work or jigsaw and have students see each other's work too. And it's really easy with any of the Google Suite products to teach kids how to insert their work. It's going to be an insert image, and then you'll see a camera icon pop up. They'll click the camera and they'll hold up their work to the camera. In this case, because I am screencasting right now, my camera is in use. If they are not screencasting, they'll be able to do this. If they're live on Zoom, they will have to go into the waiting room to be able to do this on a Chromebook. On some devices, they can use the camera while they're also on Zoom, but on a Chromebook, they will have to go into the waiting room. So you could have students in the waiting room of Zoom doing independent work. When they complete some portion of that work, they know to go to image, go to camera, and take a picture. And then you can bring them back in from the waiting room one at a time or all together to confer with them about the work that they just uploaded. So that works in Sheets. It also works in Docs. It also works in Slides. In Docs and in Slides, it's even easier for the student. It's clicking on the image icon at the top, clicking on a camera icon when the menu drops down, and then you have your camera turned on automatically and you just hold up your paper. So it's a very easy way for kids to insert the work that they're doing on paper. Next is an embedded Google Draw. This is used as, in this case, a show call. So students are working, and then I have an example that I've pre-prepared in this case that I really want them to look at as a comparison. So I hit the next slide, and this is what they see, and we can talk about it. So a pre-prepared slide after their work that we can talk through. But the other version of it is I can embed a blank Google Draw. And that way, when students are working, let's say they're working in a Draw It slide, I can screen capture quickly in the Draw It the examples that I want to show call. So let's say I screen capture two examples and then I can drag and drop them. And I can do this live in the moment. And now kids can look at a comparison of the work that they just did. So I can use in the Draw It function, I can use the share button and it will share one piece of student work at a time. But if I instead embed a Google Draw immediately after their work, I can now do a comparison of multiple pieces of work side by side. And I also can now annotate on this work. So this gives me some more options in terms of using a show call. And students, of course, will be seeing all of this modeled live in real time on their student view. Another option with Google Suite, again, this can be embedded in your Nearpod. This is the idea of an anchor chart. In our classrooms, we will have anchor charts that we are adding to day after day or week after week. More chart paper ends up on the wall, so we take it to the front, we add to our anchor chart as part of our class, and then it goes to the wall so it lives in the classroom and kids can refer back to it. This is the virtual version of that. If we have a Nearpod lesson, I want to add to this anchor chart, and then this whole anchor chart can live in my Schoology platform, so kids can always refer back to a fully updated anchor chart. So the way this is made, it's a Google Doc, and then it has Google Draws that are blank embedded into it. So for each day, it just has a blank Google Draw. So if day one is where we are in our unit, then when I'm modeling something for them, they will be seeing this same thing in their Nearpod. And I have to edit it here. There's an edit button. I have to edit it here in Draw. But when I edit in Draw, it will update both on my anchor chart and on the student anchor chart. So if I'm modeling something here, then, and this Google Doc is saved in my Schoology platform, then kids can always access the anchor chart, but they can also see it live as we are learning together. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of being able to see student work in real time is the lower tech version with a couple tech tricks to make it more effective. So if we are using primarily screen share on our Zoom, hopefully screen share with a dual monitor setup or some other way to make sure that you can see students in your gallery view. We can do a couple things to make the data collection as effective as possible when we're using a hold and show where kids are holding up their whiteboard or holding up their work. One, certainly norm on how they're holding their work exactly. For example, two hands either side of the whiteboard directly under their eyes. That way they are not trying to peer around it, but it still is right in front of the camera. Um, but the other thing that you can do with Zoom is you have now the option for a custom gallery view, which means you can drag and drop each of the little boxes in your gallery view. So every day when you sign on, you can quickly, or your co-teacher can quickly organize the gallery view to be in order, and that order can match a tracker, a lap tracker that you have, so that you can always follow your same path in terms of collecting data in order from your students, and you can mark down what you're seeing in an efficient way as you're following that order. If you can't see student work clearly enough as you're scanning the gallery view, you can pin each video, click on the video, pin it. It will uh, it will zoom in on that student. Then you can unpin it and move to the next student. That's something worth practicing with teachers so that pinning video becomes something they can do really quickly, and they can zoom in on each individual student's work as they are holding it up. Staggered groups. If you ask 25 students to hold up their work at once, even if you are pinning video and working your way through a lap in the same order each time, it's going to take some time to collect that data. Instead, you can do staggered groups, which, if you think about an in person classroom, you walk around the room, you might walk to your fastest workers first because they produced more work for you to respond to, and then move to your slower workers and then complete that lap again back to your faster workers. Same thing here. You could say green group, blue group, red group, yellow group, assign those groups, kids know who they are, and then teach them a routine. If I say green, all my green group kids are going to hold their boards up and keep them up until I say put them down, but everyone else is going to keep working. So I'd say green, I'd scan, I'd pin, I'd say blue, I'd scan, I'd pin if needed, yellow, etc. And that way I'm doing a staggered lap to work through instead of everyone show at once, and I'm getting to see work as it's being completed. And finally, if I have a co-teacher, the most intentional thing I can do is split my room. So these are the students in the green group that I'm going to look for. There are maybe 3 green group students, and you have 3 green group students, 3 blue group students, you have 3 blue group students, so that we can collect data really efficiently as we're doing our virtual laps around the classroom.